Careful.
Okay, questions for Coach McCaffery?
Obviously, you have to be pretty proud of how your team's constantly able to come back from deficits.
Yeah, I thought on a number of different levels, we really maintained our composure. You start the game, Jet's on fire. He's a handful. You got him and Dickinson to deal with, but other guys are making shots too. But we hung in there, made a couple runs. Obviously, we got unbelievable play from our bench. Peyton and Josh Dix, obviously, but also Riley Mulvey. Happy to see him have some production and get some experience. I thought Phillip, sometimes when you get in foul trouble and you sit, then you come back in, you're not able to impact the game like maybe if you were in it the whole time, and he did, and we needed him to. That one lineup, we kind of stuck with them. I thought they were clicking at both ends. You have size, you have physicality, and really, really proud of that group. But, out-rebounded them. They're a really good defensive team. They only had 6 turnovers, and so many people produced.
Fran, you guys sort of held off the Storm when they were hitting all the threes, especially in the first half. No points off turnovers. Second half, you guys have 19 points off turnovers. Really started to get defensive pressure on that. Was that, I guess, what you see just in terms of forcing on?
Well, I think we had to get a little more aggressive. Like in the first half, like we were there, but they were still getting the shots off and making them. I thought, put a little more pressure, like you said, whether it be up on a ball screen or tagging the roll or getting over on the weak side. We did that. I mean, they run really good stuff. There's not enough time in the day to go through a walkthrough with all the things that they run. And they run them well, and they execute them. They got an unselfish team. So you have to stay after it, and you got to rebound. If you do get them to miss, you don't want to give them a second. And we had 14 offensive rebounds, which is great for us.
Expanding on Riley, you said a few days ago that you've seen him progress in practice. What strides have you seen him make to where he was able to give you 13 minutes tonight?
Well, he's more physical and he's more aware. He did make some mistakes you would probably categorize as mental mistakes. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe lack of experience mistakes is probably a better way to phrase that. He's dealing with a ball screen with a killer and a 7-1 guy who's going to roll, and so he's kind of caught between. And you got to make a quick decision. You got to be up on Jet. You got to rely on the people behind you to either tag or come over on the big fella. But you can't be in between and give up an open shot because you wasn't playing either guy. And until you're really in the line of fire, you don't really understand that. So he had to go through that to kind of see it. But I told him to get in and run the floor. First time he runs, gets a layup, got a few rebounds. I thought for the most part he was where he was supposed to be, so I'm really proud of him.
Neither he or Dix seemed to act like the moment was too big for them. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, and that has been a process for Riley. Dix, that's just how he is. He doesn't, every time I've seen him play, that's how he plays. Nothing rattles him. He's constantly thinking. He doesn't let a play linger. He plays both ends. He's always been a point guard. And, we've been utilizing him on the wing primarily because he's a good shooter, and that's fine. We'll still play him there some as well, but, he was just so special, running the offense, playing defense, and just staying composed like you said.
What did you make of their 2 big lineup with Dickinson and Reed, number 32?
I'm a big Reed fan, so I think he's tremendous. You look at them and say, well, they're both 5 men, but they both can score, and they both are athletes. They both have length. You can play them both together, and that's probably something Juwan will do at times moving forward, depending upon who they're playing against.
Coach, you guys were down 7 with 2 minutes left. Michigan had the ball. How'd you guys execute kind of down on that end to get the game into overtime in the first place?
Well, you know, it started, you need a couple stops, which we got, but then it's execution at the other end. You got to come down and execute, get into your stuff quickly. We ran some late game packages, and sometimes it's not necessarily what you run, it's who's running it. You call something and they jam it up or they switch. Somebody's got to go make a play, and you can't milk the whole clock when you're down under 2 minutes. So I know our guys understood. We've got to get a good shot. We have to execute. We're coming down the stretch, but we can't just quick shoot the ball and start jacking. So I thought our shot selection, our ball movement was good. Obviously helps when you get an N1
How would you
three-point
describe
shot.
how Sanford played after halftime?
Well, he didn't make very many mistakes. I mean, obviously you look at, he's making threes. He's made 2 incredibly huge plays. I mean, a tip-in N1 and a 4-point play to tie the game, to put it in overtime. I mean, that's what you remember. But I remember, he did everything right. He was being closely guarded. I mean, they figured out that he was shooting the ball well, too. They were chasing him around. They were top blocking him. They were face guarding him. They were being physical with him. And he just kept moving. And our guys were really smart, just like they were in the last game. Like, let's get him the ball. I'm calling his number, but sometimes the play breaks down. Well, we still got to find him. If we called a play for him, they jammed it up, and he moved and came back and got it and hit a shot from the same spot that he would have, but it didn't happen off the play. So our guys didn't give up on him, and he didn't give up on himself. That's what you got to do coming down the stretch.
How good was his defense?
Defense was great, and his rebounding. I mean, he's a big, long, athletic kid, and this Michigan team has really impressed me. When I've watched obviously a lot of their games, and they run really good stuff. But they're a big, strong, physical team, and they're not easy to score on. You got to execute. You got to grind. You got to push it. And like we said a minute ago, I think getting some transition opportunities was really helpful.
How many times have you seen a guy play 45 minutes and not even look tired at the end? Chris did that tonight.
Well, you have to remember where I coached before.
Yeah.
I've coached teams where I couldn't take anybody out. I mean, I had 2 players that averaged like 41.2 minutes. So it's a little different. I've been there. But it's a good thing, Tom.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Coach, you notice an uptick in your team's energy when Peyton is playing well?
Yeah, and I think that would be true when you get a guy cooking like that, and everybody loves him. I mean, he's just such a great teammate, so positive. So they're all rooting for him. So when he's cooking, it definitely improves the energy level of everybody else.
One or two more.
You always emphasize your coaching style is pretty positive. Even if Peyton was in a slump before, you encourage him to shoot if he's open. How does this game? Do you kind of look at this game as it kind of proves you right? You kind of like, what do you feel for Peyton?
Well, I would go back to the first time I saw him play. He had 6 threes in a row. I walked into the gym, he had 6 threes in a row, and I called him up after the game. I said, I want you to come play for me. And it was pretty much it right there. And you watch him in high school, I mean, he was an assassin. And then he was really good for us last year. And he was really good in the summer, he was really good in the fall. He had a couple games where he was off. And he was way too hard on himself in that stretch. So, I mean, I always say this, he's not going to trust himself if the coach doesn't trust him. I say it all the time, just trust your talent. I trust you. I'm going to keep running stuff for you. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep putting you in, and we're going to call your number. And just keep firing. And I know he was down, but he never stopped fighting. So I'm really, really proud of him, for that. And it's great as a coach to see a guy succeed, through that period of time.
When was that first time that you saw him?
It was the summer before his junior year in high school in Kansas City at an event that was highlighting the top players in 4 different states. So he was with all the Iowa kids, not his high school team, not his AAU team. He was at an event in Kansas City.
It almost seemed like when he described it, he was trying to create that 4-point play. That has to take, I'm sure you don't have that many drawn up in your playbook, but I mean, how did he do that, do you feel like? He feels like he knew he needed a 4-point play in that moment.
Well,
Maybe.
yeah, I mean
It's
we
hard to do.
all wanted one, but you're not usually going to get it. You know, what happens in a situation like that is they're going to contest. They were face guarding him. They were physical with him. They're going to contest. So he knows he's got to get it off quick. So he's got to keep moving, and we got to keep screening. So he had a little bit of daylight. They knew they were closing out on him, so he's firing. Maybe it goes in, maybe I get fouled, maybe I get 3 shots and I cut it to 1. But the good news is, he wanted the ball and he wanted to shoot it, and we got it to him. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.